Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of From Dust Till Verdict. I'm your host James Nevin, a partner at the law firm of Brayton, Purcell, LLP. This podcast is dedicated to the epidemic of accelerated silicosis in artificial stone countertop fabrication workers. In each episode, we explore important topics and issues about this occupational health epidemic, as well as the associated lawsuits. Today, in episode 7, we will discuss why the only solution to this public health crisis is to ban crystalline silica artificial stone, and why the proposed H.R. 5437 bill in Congress to bail out foreign manufacturers by instead banning lawsuits against them would just result in the deaths of thousands of more fabrication workers in the U.S. First, let's discuss some important background. By the 1950s, the century-old disease chronic silicosis, which afflicted miners in various blue-collar trades, was well understood and well controlled due to the use of engineering controls. This trend continued such that the death rate from silicosis for all trades combined was close to zero by 2010 in the U.S. In the 1960s, using natural stone slabs to fabricate kitchen and bathroom countertops became popular. Although fabrication of these slabs into finished countertops involved cutting, grinding, and polishing the slabs, which produced silica-containing stone dust, fabricators did this work without getting disease. Throughout the entire period when only natural stone slabs were being used, there was not a single published medical case of a countertop fabricator developing silicosis. All this changed when foreign companies began to manufacture artificial stone slabs. The vast majority of artificial stone slabs that are fabricated in the United States by domestic countertop fabrication workers are dumped here by foreign manufacturers from 17 countries, including China, India, Vietnam, Iran, Spain, and Israel. There's only one major domestic manufacturer of artificial stone slabs. Health authorities consider disease prevalence of 1% to be a major concern to public health. Higher rates of 10% for asbestos insulators with mesothelioma or heavy smokers with lung cancer, for example, are considered public health disasters. By all public health standards, the artificial stone silicosis epidemic, which has been estimated to have a prevalence of 55 to 80%, is an astounding public health catastrophe. The H.R. 5437 proposed ban on lawsuits against these foreign artificial stone slab manufacturers rather than banning their allegedly deadly products would encourage the continued killing of domestic U.S. fabrication workers by foreign companies. Long before artificial stone became popular in the United States, the foreign manufacturers allegedly knew their product is deadly. Since the late 1990s, many artificial stone fabrication workers in Italy, Israel, Spain, Australia, and China have died from accelerated or acute silicosis. But the foreign manufacturers choose to sell it here anyway. According to the hundreds of published medical studies, artificial stone cannot ever be safely fabricated or installed by human beings. Since 2012, based on extensive global published peer-reviewed literature and global health authority determinations, it has been clear to the foreign artificial stone slab manufacturers and distributors that within a few years of artificial stone slabs displacing natural stone slabs in any geographic market of human being countertop fabrication workers, that an epidemic of artificial stone accelerated silicosis soon follows. In 1987, Caesarstone opened the first artificial stone slab manufacturing facility in Israel. As Caesarstone became popular in Israel and displaced the natural stone in the market, the new disease known as artificial stone silicosis began to emerge. According to a 2012 published Israeli medical journal article, by 1997, the first Caesarstone countertop fabrication worker developed accelerated artificial stone silicosis, and by 2010, 24 more workers had it as well, with 10 receiving lung transplants. Caesarstone's alleged response to the epidemic in Israel was to massively increase sales of its artificial stone slabs to be fabricated into countertops by human beings in Australia in 2008 and the United States in 2011. Similarly, in Spain, Cosentino opened its first artificial stone slab manufacturing facility in 1988. By 2011, Spanish doctors reported that 25 Spanish Cosentino fabrication workers had developed artificial stone silicosis. And in 2012, another Spanish doctor reported 255 patients. This would eventually result in the criminal conviction in Spain of Cosentino as a company in 2019 for failure to warn fabrication workers of the hazards of artificial stone causing them to develop fatal silicosis. And later, in 2023, the criminal conviction in Spain of Francisco Cosentino himself for similar crimes. Cosentino's alleged response to the Spanish Cosentino artificial stone epidemic was to massively increase artificial stone slab sales to be fabricated in countertops by human beings in Australia in 2011 and the United States in 2015. The foreign artificial stone slab manufacturers in countries like China and Vietnam experienced similar outbreaks, but responded by just dumping more of their allegedly deadly product in the US. The only major domestic artificial stone manufactured in the US is Cambria, based in Minnesota. It began making and selling artificial stone slabs in 2003. After the epidemics were first reported in Spain in 2011 and Israel in 2012, Cambria's alleged response was to increase sales of their artificial stone slab product to be fabricated by domestic human being workers here in the US. Since the Australian natural stone countertop fabrication market was the first market to be hijacked by foreign artificial stone slab manufacturers, a few years before this occurred in the United States, the next artificial stone silicosis outbreak was in Australia. In 2019, Australia reported 260 cases of artificial stone silicosis, followed in 2022 by 579 cases. They next estimated that 100,000 Australian fabricators would get silicosis and over 10,000 would get lung cancer from artificial stone countertop fabrication. Therefore, after extensive testing, review, and analysis, SafeWork Australia concluded that wet methods and other engineering controls do not prevent disease during artificial stone countertop fabrication. As a result, in 2024, Australia banned the importation and use of artificial stone slabs. The first artificial stone case in the United States was reported in 2015 in Texas. However, soon after, California became the epicenter of disease in the United States, with it now rapidly spreading to other states. As the product becomes popular in each market, it displaces natural stone, and the silicosis rates in fabrication workers rapidly increase from a baseline of 0. California is simply the first state where artificial stone became popular in the United States. The California Department of Public Health, or CDPH, now maintains an engineered stone silicosis dashboard. You can Google it. It tracks the artificial stone silicosis epidemic in California. Their dashboard is updated weekly, tracking diagnosis and death. The epidemic in California began in 2019 with only 13 cases, rising each year. And as of October 9, 2025, the number of confirmed cases is now 411. The data shows a rapidly worsening epidemic. It will continue to grow until artificial stone is banned because it allegedly cannot be fabricated safely by human beings, even using wet methods. Other states in the U.S. are also seeing increased rates of artificial stone silicosis as the demand for artificial stone countertop grows. We're seeing cases in patients in Kentucky, Georgia, Florida, and many other states. Not counting thousands of human being artificial stone silicosis fabrication worker victims in Israel, Spain, Italy, Australia, China, and Vietnam who worked in thousands of different fabrication shops, it is just the beginning in the United States, where there are already over 600 artificial stone countertop fabrication workers with silicosis and other silica diseases who worked in approximately 700 different fabrication shops in 16 different states: Florida, Kentucky, Georgia, Missouri, Texas, Utah, Arizona, Alaska, Nevada, Colorado, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, New York, and California. Unless we follow Australia's example and ban artificial stone, this is only the beginning of the United States epidemic. The problem is with the artificial stone product itself, not with the fabrication process. Artificial stone slabs are made from a combination of crushed quartz, resins, and pigments. While quartz is a naturally occurring mineral, the artificial stone that results from this mixture contains vastly more silica than most natural stone products. And it's been pulverized to ultrafine and nano-sized particles, and it's mixed with other toxins. As fabrication workers cut, drill, and polish these artificial slabs to become countertops, they inhale dangerous levels of artificial stone dust. According to studies, many of these workers are developing accelerated silicosis after relatively short exposures despite using wet methods and respiratory protection. Before artificial stone slab became popular in the United States, countertops were largely made from granite, which contains 30% crystalline silica, and marble, which contains only 3% crystalline silica. And that silica in true natural stone is regular size, not nano-sized. In contrast, the high-content, nano-sized silica and other toxic dust is released when fabricating and installing artificial stone countertops. Numerous peer-reviewed studies demonstrate that engineering controls, mainly water, and local exhaust ventilation, and personal protective equipment such as masks and respirators, which work reasonably well when fabricating natural stone, do not prevent disease in workers fabricating artificial stone. Therefore, artificial stone slabs, a non-essential building material, cannot be fabricated safely into countertops by human beings, even when using wet controls. Artificial stone silicosis is an incurable man-made lung disease. There are readily available alternatives to artificial stones that do not pose a severe health risk. Natural stone products like marble and granite have much lower silica content and are much less hazardous to workers during the fabrication process. While some natural stone, like quartzite, also has high silica content, its particles are mostly not nano-sized, and it does not contain toxic pigments or resins, as is the case with artificial stone. Moreover, many artificial stone slab manufacturers have developed so-called no-silica slabs made with recycled glass, which is amorphous silica rather than crystalline silica. It may be safe, but nevertheless, they continue to sell their traditional high-content crystalline silica artificial stone products as well, so as to not lose market share. Artificial stone silicosis is a debilitating and fatal disease. By filing a lawsuit against the mostly foreign slab manufacturers, their wholly owned domestic distribution subsidiaries, and their networks of suppliers, fabrication workers and their families recover economic damages such as past and future lost wages and income because they're unable to work and left destitute and unable to support their families, and they recover past and future medical expenses. Lung transplants and post-transplantation medical care is very expensive, as well as they recover non-economic damage for lifelong pain and distress that they endure. State court juries hear the evidence that the defendants' artificial stone slab products are inherently defective in that they cannot be fabricated safely by human beings, even with state-of-the-art safety equipment. And the defendants' warnings, when actually conveyed at all, are entirely inadequate. Juries rightly reject the foreign slab manufacturers' efforts to place the blame for accelerated silicosis on the fabrication workers and their unsophisticated hires, who never received any warnings at all from the defendants that would have informed them that artificial stone was any different from the natural stone that they'd been fabricating safely for years. Similarly, juries reject the foreign slab defendants' efforts to blame sophisticated fabrication shops who literally follow all of the safety rules, but still their workers get fatal disease. Absent a ban on the manufacturing or import of crystalline silica artificial stone, lawsuits are the only vehicle to force the foreign manufacturers, as well as their wholly owned domestic distribution subsidiaries and suppliers, to stop selling artificial stone slabs and instead only sell natural stone slabs or recycled glass amorphous silica slabs in the United States. Most stone fabrication workers are not members of any union. The companies behind the lobbyists for HR 5437 are mostly foreign artificial stone slab manufacturers and their wholly owned domestic subsidiaries. According to its website, the deceptively named Natural Stone Institute has about 2,000 members, but only about 800 are actually fabrication shop owners, not workers, and those are mostly large companies. The other 1,200 NSI members appear to be foreign slab manufacturers and other large companies who profit from supplying the allegedly deadly artificial stone slab to be fabricated by human beings. NSI appears to be the mouthpiece of the artificial stone slab manufacturers. The vast majority of its funding appears to come from the big foreign slab manufacturers. Most smaller fabrication shop owners are not members. NSI offers a training course for fabricators that deceives them and tells them that wet methods prevent silicosis and other silica-related diseases. We know from countless published peer-reviewed studies that that is not correct. The deceptively named International Services Fabricators Association, or ISFA, is another major supporter of HR 5437. Like NSI, ISFA holds itself out as a fabricators union. But according to its website, it appears that it only has 192 large fabrication shop owner members, no actual fabrication worker members, and 96 members who are actually artificial stone slab manufacturers and distributors. Its funding appears to mostly come from the foreign slab manufacturers. The function of ISFA appears to be, again, the mouthpiece of the foreign artificial slab manufacturers rather than an advocate for the domestic countertop fabrication workers. Like the asbestos lawsuits in the 1980s, it is only the financial pain from being forced to compensate victims, as well as legislative and consumer awareness, that will cause the foreign artificial stone slab manufacturers, their wholly owned domestic distribution subsidiaries, and other domestic suppliers to eliminate the hazards from their $25 billion a year industry. In response to the Australia artificial slab ban and lawsuits in the United States, many major manufacturers and suppliers have already developed and aggressively marketed so-called no-silica recycled glass made from amorphous silica slabs. Recent studies from Dr. Remkison in Australia indicate that recycled glass slabs may actually be safer. In the meantime, in the US, the traditional, allegedly deadly high-content nano-sized silica from foreign artificial stone slab products continues to dominate the US countertop market, and many thousands more young domestic fabrication workers will continue to develop and die from accelerated silicosis until artificial stone slabs, not silicosis lawsuits, are banned. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of From Dust to Verdict. I'm your host, James Nevin, from the law firm of Brayton, Purcell, LLP. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. And for anyone that speaks Spanish, I encourage you to check out the Spanish language version of this podcast, hosted by my good friend, Charlie Velasco Ariza. Thank you.
This podcast contains subjective commentary and opinion-free speech intended to provoke thought and discussion. Investigative commentary intended to shed light on matters of public interest to inform the audience and encourage civic engagement, accountability, and transparency. Findings that are a result of diligent research, fact-checking, and analysis of publicly available material, including news reports, public records, interviews, personal research, experiences, published peer-reviewed medical and scientific literature, published governmental health authority regulations and findings, and other accessible sources. Any conclusions drawn reflect the creator's interpretation of that information and are presented in good faith, and are not intended to malign, defame, or harm the reputation of any individual, group, company, or entity, but rather are intended to be allegations acknowledged to be disputed by artificial stone slab manufacturers and suppliers. The speech herein is protected under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Litigation privilege, CA-CC 47B. Fair reporting privilege, CA-CC 47D1. Anti-SLAPP, CCP 425.16. And fair use doctrine, Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. This podcast and all content herein are exclusive property of Brayton Purcell, LLP, and are protected under applicable copyright and trademark laws. Unauthorized use, reproduction, distribution, or exploitation of this content in whole or in part without express written permission is strictly prohibited. All rights reserved.